What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC News right here in MNN. I got my main man, Scott Anderson, and we are here to present the TSC News Awards for WWE for 2017. Superstar of the Year, Match of the Year, Feud of the Year, you name it, we got it. Scott, how's it going?
It is going well, my friend. Yourself?
I'm doing all right, man. I know you're prepping for fatherhood yet again, right?
I am, yes. Yeah. It'll be fun, that's for sure.
Oh, man. So let's look at the categories we got here. We got a number of different votes. We solicited a bunch of different votes from people all around the world. And, man, I'm a little surprised by some of these results. Now, granted, ultimately, you and I are going to be the ones picking the winners because it's our opinions here. But we are going to shout out the fan votes. So,
sounds good.
So I think we should start with the tippity top. What do you think? Superstar of the Year? Kick it off on a high note?
Yeah, let's kick it off on a high note.
Okay, well, we presented the following nominees. We presented Roman Reigns, who won the Intercontinental Championship, had a great feud with Braun the Strowman, had consistently some great matches on TV and on pay-per-view. AJ Styles, who captured the United States Championship twice and is the current WWE champion. Actually, I shouldn't say that because by the time this airs, he may have lost to the Jinder Mahal, which would be unfortunate. But, you know, he won the WWE Championship from Jinder Mahal, and what by far was Jinder Mahal's best match of his career. First WWE title change in the UK ever. We have Brock Lesnar, the Universal Champion, who is awaiting word on who exactly is going to be facing at Royal Rumble. Braun Strowman didn't win any titles this year, but showed significant improvement. A guy who got a lot better in the ring, a lot better on the mic, tremendous shape. You know, some memorable angles, including tipping over an ambulance with Roman Reigns in it. You know, surviving a barrage of chairs. I'm sure there's some other moments of Braun Strowman I can't think of right now. And then, lastly, Jinder Mahal, who reigned as WWE Champion for roughly 6 months and had wins over Randy Orton multiple times, Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, the list goes on and on. Completely turned his career around following getting drafted to SmackDown. Scott, I'll toss it up to you first. Who you got for Superstar of the Year?
I've been thinking about it, and, you know, honestly, I know Superstar has to be one person, so we have to give it to one of these guys. We can't just give it to, you know, a tag team or a woman or something to that effect.
We could give it to a woman, by the way, for sure.
Okay, we could. But... Man, this is a tough one because, like you said, Braun Strowman definitely has improved, but he hasn't won a title. Roman's been Roman. I guess, honestly, I'm going to have to go with AJ Styles. I think, you know, like you said, 2-time, you know, U.S. champion as of this taping, current WWE champion, had a Match of the Year candidate with John Cena at the Royal Rumble back in January. He's been everywhere. He is the face of SmackDown Live for sure. Pretty much one of the faces of WWE now. So I have to go with AJ Styles.
And you know what? Now thinking about it too, he did also pull out a great match with Shane McMahon, which might have been Shane McMahon's best match. And I know people talk about that Hell in a Cell match with Taker, but that wasn't a good match other than the dive. And the Kevin Owens match wasn't that good of a match other than the risks they took. And it was, you know, an admirable effort. But as far as match quality, I mean, that AJ Styles match with Shane was probably Shane's best match in, I don't know, man, maybe a decade.
Oh, at least. And let's not forget he also flew back after the tour to challenge Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Back, what was that, October?
Yeah, he had the South American tour.
And the South American tour, traveled back up. Yeah, so, you know, I think he's definitely Superstar of the Year in my book.
It's funny because he started having kind of a weak in-ring year. He had the great match with John Cena at Rumble where he dropped the title to Cena. Cena won his 16th. He had a damn good Elimination Chamber performance. But then he got stuck in the feud with Shane McMahon, and while it was a great match by Shane McMahon standards, you know, a lot of people felt like he could have, you know, been doing something a little bit more. But he did get featured. And then he had a really weird feud with Kevin Owens where, shockingly, both guys could not have a great match with each other.
No, there was a lot of botches involved in that feud. It lasted all summer, so give him that. But
yeah, and then also too, he ended up in a feud with Baron Corbin, your boy, who's got some votes for a category that we'll talk about in a second.
Which is another reason I couldn't put Braun Strowman as a superstar of the year, because Baron Corbin did eliminate him at the Rumble. So.
Oh man, you're gonna hold that against him.
I am.
But I'll say this: AJ Styles started the year off hot, and has ended the year pretty hot. I mean, again, that great match he had with Jinder Mahal of all people, and the great match he had with Finn Balor, on the fly at WWE TLC. And then the match he had with Brock Lesnar, which was Brock Lesnar's best singles match in maybe I'd say probably at least 2 years since the Hell in a Cell with The Undertaker. Really, it was a great match.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I forgot about that, and it was just a month ago. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I'll say this, for all the crap we give WWE about all the storylines and all that things not making sense, and there's times it doesn't, and there's times they just kind of do things on the fly and change plans. It has been a pretty strong in-ring year, which, we'll talk about in a second with match of the year. But let's just go to the fan voting before I give you guys my pick. AJ Styles got 56% of the votes, and then followed by Braun Strowman with 22%, Roman Reigns 11%, Brock Lesnar 6%, and Jinder Mahal 6%. I do want to throw out an honorable mention. Asuka, she spent most of the time in NXT, but she had a lot of very memorable matches. 2 great matches with Ember Moon, one which I was there live for in NXT Brooklyn. And, she's still undefeated, so she definitely deserves some recognition.
Sure, absolutely. And I think the voting's a little skewed when it comes to Roman Reigns getting 11%. Guy had a hell of a year, let's not lie about that. Fans are just going to be fans when it comes to him, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, for sure. He's an awesome in-ring performer. So, but he had a great year. But ultimately, I'm also picking AJ Styles as my superstar of the year. I just think the guy's been Mr. Consistency. He's made the most out of what he's been given. The Shane stuff, the Kevin Owens stuff, with the Baron Corbin stuff especially, rough in some parts. But this guy stuck it through, kept doing his thing, made all his opponents look good. Like I said, he pulled out a great match with Shane McMahon. They did some spots here and there, but it wasn't, it wasn't like Shane dove off a 30-foot cell or anything.
That was a pretty just solid match.
Yeah.
Shane kicked out of some moves that nobody should be kicking out of, but, it's Shane McMahon for you.
Yeah, and I think AJ, especially this year, really cemented himself as one of the greatest of all time as far as in the ring. He really is. He got inducted into the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame, and, I think deservedly so. He's been consistently great for at least 15 years. He really has, and I feel like this is a year that really just kind of cemented that for me. So congratulations, AJ Styles, TSC News Superstar of the Year. Now, let's go to Match of the Year. And, dude, there were so many great matches to choose from this year. So many. I'm going to list the ones that are here, but there's some other ones. Actually, let's talk about the ones that are omitted from the final 5. The War Games from NXT, Velveteen Dream versus Aleister Black, also on that card, which is great. Johnny Gargano and Andrade Cien Almas in NXT Brooklyn was a very good match. Yes. Yeah, that was a great match. I mean, the matches the Bars had with the Shield, those were great. AJ Styles versus Finn Balor was great.
AJ Styles versus John Cena.
Yeah, AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar. Actually, we did include. Actually, no, we didn't include AJ Styles versus John Cena from Royal Rumble. So, yeah, that's because we had to narrow it down to 5.
And I know it's not on there, but you know what else I think has to have an honorable mention just because? Let's go back to WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg. That was 5 minutes of pretty darn good.
That was pure hell.
What it was.
And the fact that these dudes are not that young, especially Goldberg, and he took all those suplexes, and they he trained so hard for this match, and it was a great feud overall. Yeah, no, that was maybe the best 5-minute match of all time. I think, actually, I will say it was the best 5-minute match of all time. It was just excellent. But we had to narrow it down to 5. Here's the 5 we narrowed it down to. Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe at SummerSlam, which was an absolutely insane Fatal 4-Way match for the Universal title. John Cena versus AJ Styles at Royal Rumble. Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne NXT TakeOver Chicago. Usos versus The New Day at Hell in a Cell. And Asuka versus Ember Moon from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Some people think maybe we should narrow down, Finn Balor and AJ Styles, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, this is just what came down with the fans. Scott, you could make your own picks, but I am going to go first, and it's a tough choice, It really is. But I'm going to go with Lesnar, Strowman, Reigns, and Joe, which also won the fan vote with 40%. Coming in second was a tie between the Usos and New Day and Cena versus Styles, followed by Asuka and Ember Moon, and then Bate and Pete Dunne. But the reason I go with the Fatal 4-Way is because not only was it a great match and absolutely chaotic, it was not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 guys who were pretty protected throughout the year, whose characters were booked super strong, legit badass dudes, all in one crazy ass match. And you really didn't know who was going to win. It was unpredictable. There was all kinds of action. Braun Strowman came off as such a superstar, but Samoa Joe looked good too. Roman Reigns looked good too. I wish more guys were booked strong other than, 4 guys out of a whole, 100 wrestler roster. But those 4 guys absolutely brought it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't complain about that. I think pure wrestling wise, I would go, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate. That probably was one of the best matches I've seen in a long, long time. I agree with you with the Survivor Series match, but it's not my match of the year. My match of the year had to be the Usos and the New Day in Hell in a Cell. Maybe part of it was Hell in a Cell, and it actually felt like a Hell in a Cell match, but I'm going to go with that. You don't see tag teams in Hell in a Cell, and those guys pulled it off tremendously.
Yeah, and on top of that, that was probably the best Hell in a Cell match since... Dude,
it's been a long time. Maybe Lesnar and
Undertaker and Lesnar, they worked.
That was good.
That was good. They worked really hard. It was kind of sad too because the Taker was so slow. But
sure.
Honestly, if you want to go back before that, maybe even. I mean, there's been some good ones. I mean, Undertaker and Lesnar was really good. Triple H and Undertaker WrestleMania 20 was really good.
Undertaker,
but you know what? In terms of overall match quality, you know what I mean? You know what, man? It might be the best Hell in a Cell match since Edge versus Undertaker.
Yeah, it's possible. And again, maybe it just had that feeling to it. Maybe it was just the tag teams. Maybe, for the PG era, that match definitely pushed a lot of limits.
Yeah, it was very brutal.
It had to be, yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the New Day and the Usos, up next is Feud of the Year. And there's been a lot of great feuds. And here's the list that we narrowed it down to. Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. The New Day versus the Usos. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman, Asuka versus Ember Moon, and Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream. Scott, who you got?
New Day, Usos, 100% all the way. That feud lasted, it felt like 6 months. They had a great rap battle, which pushed a lot of limits, let's be honest. The Hell in a Cell match was great. They had numerous matches. To me, it's not even close.
Yeah, I agree. I go with the Usos and the New Day. Promos in the ring, tremendous. But the fan vote was actually for Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman, overwhelmingly so. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman got 48%, followed by Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream with 17%, which I think is a bit of an upset. Then it's a tie between New Day and Usos and Asuka and Ember Moon at 13%. And Goldberg versus Lesnar in last place at 9%. That was very surprising.
Well, you got to keep in mind they only had one match, so the feud aspect of it was from 2016 as well.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. I mean,
Reigns and Strowman. Reigns was an awesome feud.
I get it, but I think it was more spots that made that feud what it was. Mm-hmm. You have the ambulance being tipped over. You have what Roman did to Braun with the ambulance and Braun coming out all bloodied. And I think that match had a lot of that feud had a lot of spots to it, which made it special. Matches were good. I mean, definitely elevated Braun and did what it did for Roman. And yeah, I mean, to me, it's right there. One, and then 1D.
Or 1A, 1B. Yeah.
Nah, I can't go quite 1A, 1B. That's why I said 1D. But
okay.
I mean, it was there.
For sure. No, definitely a memorable feud, especially for two guys that weren't really feuding for a title. They're just feuding to see who's the most, badass big dude in WWE.
Absolutely.
And they definitely delivered.
Sure.
Okay. Best pay-per-view of the year. We narrowed it down to Royal Rumble 2017, which featured John Cena versus AJ Styles in a great match, Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, and a very memorable Royal Rumble match. WrestleMania, which of course is WrestleMania, featured the great return of the Hardys, It unfortunately featured Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. It featured the great Goldberg and Brock Lesnar match, Shane McMahon and AJ Styles.
More than likely, the last match for The Undertaker.
Yeah, with Roman Reigns, although that wasn't that great of a match. But it was a memorable moment.
Was a moment.
Plus, John Cena proposing to Nikki Bella finally.
Yes.
We had SummerSlam, which was topped by that Fatal 4-Way.
I think the whole weekend of SummerSlam has to be included in that, because TakeOver was still...
Well, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn is also listed, which featured Asuka and Ember Moon, and Andrade Cien Almas and Johnny Gargano. And most recently, NXT TakeOver War Games, which featured Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black, Lars Sullivan looking really good, and, of course, the War Games match itself.
Well, let's not forget TakeOver Brooklyn also had the debut of Adam Cole.
And that's right. Adam Cole, baby, which happened to be there for.
Not a great main event match with Drew McIntyre and
Bobby Roode. Yeah.
Yeah, but, overall, yeah.
So, what do you got?
I just spoiled it. I think the SummerSlam weekend had to be number one in my book. NXT TakeOver WrestleMania was good. I'm just going to call it WrestleMania because that's what it is. Yeah. If I'm going one particular pay-per-view, it's a shame we didn't even mention Money in the Bank, but it was what it was.
Yeah.
I think, SummerSlam. I think for me, the main event was great. Had some other good matches. I think SummerSlam, just for the main event alone, it was a long pay-per-view, and it definitely didn't start off well with the empty arena match of the Miz and the Miz Taraj versus the Hardys and Jason Jordan. That didn't go very well, but SummerSlam, NXT, you can go a bunch of different ways. Mania was good in its Mania, but to me it wasn't that memorable. There was a lot of good moments, so I'm going to go SummerSlam.
Well, I'd say it's definitely memorable for the moments, but I think. I don't know. Time will tell if that pay-per-view ages well. But if you look at the SummerSlam right here, I mean, Neville and Tozawa was pretty good. That was a kickoff match. Yes. Usos versus New Day was awesome. That was also a kickoff match. Those were just on the kickoff.
That was a kickoff match. You're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about. I think SummerSlam was the whole. You're right about the whole weekend. Yeah, I mean the whole weekend was really good, but you also had some good stuff too with the Fatal 4-Way as we mentioned before. AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, not a great match, but I'd say it was their best match because they had the Shane McMahon as the guest referee, and it set up Hell in a Cell, and really I think it was also enhanced by the Shield versus Cesaro and Sheamus.
And I was just going to say that, that was back in August, and we're now going into January here in a couple of days, and that's still going on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, they're having a great feud too. Maybe we should listen to them for feud of the year. The ring. The ring is pretty good, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as me is concerned, I'd say either summer. You know what? I wish I could just pick the whole weekend, SummerSlam weekend. I'm gonna say a combination of TakeOver and SummerSlam. I'll be biased and say TakeOver Brooklyn because I was there live, but as you said, the main event did kind of fall flat and everything. So you know what?
The only thing about SummerSlam itself was Jinder Mahal and Nakamura did not deliver at all.
Yeah, I mean,
and like you said, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, the ending saved it.
Yeah, I mean, I was there live.
TakeOver that just happened was good. So
NXT TakeOver War Games was great. It really was. But
it was fresh in our mind too.
I'm gonna go NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. I was there live. I may be a little biased, but I think between the debut of Adam Cole, the re-debut of Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, the Asuka Ember Moon match is one of the best matches I've ever seen live, along with Gargano and Almas. Yeah, I'd have to go with NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. But the fans were split amongst WrestleMania and Royal Rumble, which is kind of surprising, followed by SummerSlam, followed by another tie with SummerSlam, War Games, and NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. So they were kind of a deadlock too.
Yeah, I mean, again, I get it. The Rumble was great. It was cool that it was in the bigger, Alamo Dome this year. So that was cool. And, the Rumble match itself wasn't really anything special. No big surprises like they used to have, but it was good. The Cena AJ match was awesome. Again, long pay-per-views. That's the only issue WWE has right now. They're going into 7-hour pay-per-views basically.
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
makes it tough.
True. most overrated WWE superstar of the year. Now, before I read this list, 2 Trill for Life on YouTube was asking me, where's Roman Reigns' name on this list? Roman Reigns, for the most part, wasn't really involved in the whole title picture this year, and he had a lot of great matches, so I kept him off this list because I don't think he should be considered overrated. Now, maybe if he wins the Royal Rumble for a second time and he's going into WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar and he's not lighting the world on fire, then maybe he could earn the title of overrated. But really, he's a damn good worker right now. You know, I'm enjoying the stuff he's doing. At the end of the day, this is our award show. And, you know, with all due respect, buddy, I don't think Roman Reigns is overrated right now. I don't know if you feel the same way, but No,
I don't think so. He's doing good.
Okay, so here's who we narrowed it down to. Brock Lesnar, and some people may be surprised by that, but Brock Lesnar didn't really have that strong of like a singles run this year. You know, I mean, yeah, he had the great Goldberg match for like 5 minutes. He had the great Fatal 4-Way, which he was a part of.
But keep in mind with that Fatal 4-Way, he wasn't in a good 15 minutes.
Exactly.
They did an angle for him to stretch her out.
Exactly. Yeah. And then he had the great match with AJ Styles, but everybody has a great match with AJ Styles unless you're Kevin Owens.
It's true.
But
that's pretty much all his matches.
Yeah, but you know what? You look at the 2 big Haas matches, the big mean guy matches that look to be good on paper that didn't deliver. Brock versus Samoa Joe at Great Balls of Fire, and especially Brock versus Braun Strowman. Which, I know some people try to place some blame on Braun Strowman. I didn't place any blame on Braun Strowman for that match. I thought Braun did everything he could. There was a point in the match where I think Braun went for like a spine buster, and he hit it, and he left his arm out for Brock to lock in the Kimura, and either Brock forgot the spot or just decided not to do it, and it was just time stood still. It's weird. People complain about Braun being green and this and that, but in almost every big match he's been in this year, he delivered, ironically enough, against other than only against Brock Lesnar. Samoa Joe, he had a lackluster NXT run. He's been on the main roster this year. He's looked great in almost every match he's been in, except for the one with Brock Lesnar.
You know, I think the Brock Lesnar Samoa Joe match was too short. Again, it was 6 minutes. 6 minutes? There wasn't a whole lot you could do. The Strowman Lesnar match, it is what it is. You have 2 big guys. Lesnar, let's give the guy credit. He does put on a show when he has to, and it just something like some guys just don't have that chemistry. It's just that simple.
I guess, but I think it's a layout too. And look, I'm not saying it's all Brock's fault and everything, but but backstage, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman are a pretty powerful entity, and he's the top guy. And I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I think it comes down to Vince McMahon as well. They've made his matches formulaic. Maybe I'm being a little too hard on Brock, but yeah, I don't know. He seemed a bit slower in the ring this year. I mean, he's obviously getting older, his wear and tear in his body and everything like that. I don't know. I feel like after Goldberg,
there's only so much you can do with them.
Yeah, I think it's after Goldberg left, like his characters stopped being interesting. It kind of was just like, okay, Suplex City. We can only hear the same promo for so long from Paul Heyman, as great as he is. We can only see the same act for so long with Brock. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Maybe it's just because Brock's been around a lot longer, whereas Strowman, even though Strowman's kind of done the same things in his matches, it feels fresher. Like I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I got Brock just.
You don't see Lesnar all the time.
Yeah, and when you do, it's like the same thing. Coming. Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing.
Exactly. So that's why I feel like it's overrated. Like I'm a huge Lesnar fan. I have a hell of a lot of respect for him. He's a great performer, but I think this year was kind of outside of those handful of matches. I think it was kind of weak for him. So Brock Lesnar was the first nominee for most overrated, followed by Bray Wyatt, Bobby Roode, Baron Corbin, and Jinder Mahal. Now, fan voting had Jinder Mahal at 36%, Brock Lesnar at 32%, followed by Bray Wyatt and Baron Corbin being tied at 16%, and Bobby Roode actually got no votes, which was kind of surprising to me. But yeah, I as far as overrated, who I would pick, man, oh man, you know what? Given his stature, I would go with. Ooh. It depends on what you define as overrated, but I'm gonna go with Bray Wyatt.
I knew you were gonna say that, and I don't know why. I'm not sure why.
He's been in all these terrible feuds. He got the WWE Championship earlier this year, which was an awesome moment. And after that, he consistently failed to deliver in big singles matches. And it's not all his fault. A lot of it's the layout as well. His character's not interesting at all. But I just feel like I just don't care for the guy. His character is not very good. I mean, it's cool nowadays feeding him Matt Hardy and stuff, and Matt Hardy's woken doing the broken gimmick. But man, I think it's got to be Bray Wyatt. All these guys on this list are overrated in their own ways. Bobby Roode, as much as I love him, he's not the same guy he was in TNA. The glorious Bobby Roode thing, to me, it's a great entrance. I'm happy he's got a roster spot and everything. I'm happy he's getting a shot after all these years. But man, I don't know. It's just it doesn't fit. It doesn't really fit him. It's very one-dimensional, as we've seen on the SmackDown roster. It's very one-dimensional. Baron Corbin got a little bit better in the ring, but I still don't see a lot in him. I'm not saying there isn't a place for a guy like Baron Corbin. But when you have a roster with so much talent on all three brands, even with like big men that are talented, I mean, it's hard for me to put. Honestly, even though Lars Sullivan's not ready yet for the main roster, I look at a guy like that, and that's a guy to me that within a year would probably get over a lot more than Baron Corbin, and be just fine. And it
depends on how they do it.
Depends on how they do it. I'm just saying, there's big guys on the roster. And there's better big guys on the roster. I mean, there really is. You got to think
about, with Baron Corbin, what made him who he was on NXT? He came out, he had 10-second matches, and it was great.
Yeah.
Then it faded, but it was great. On the main roster, that's not what he's doing. He's losing on, WrestleMania pre-show to Dean Ambrose, and he's doing that type of stuff. He had Money in the Bank, lost it to Jinder Mahal. So.
I think he's a guy to me that really needs to, what they need to do with him is because he's balding anyway and he's getting that like Jake Roberts skull. I think what they need to do with him is have him lose like a hair versus hair match, to, like say Bobby Roode, and then what I would do is just keep him off TV for a little bit and repackage him. Just maybe you can have the same theme song. He's got a cool theme song, cool entrance, but maybe just change him up a bit, make him a little bit darker. Hell, maybe even pair him with Bray Wyatt, and kind of make Bray, instead of making Bray Wyatt this in-ring guy, make him kind of more of the mouthpiece that like kind of mentors Baron Corbin and has him like destroy, because they both have like that dark kind of edge, and just have him like destroy people. But that's the deal with Baron Corbin. And then Jinder Mahal. And Jinder Mahal. Folks, we're out of time this week. We'll be back next week with part 2 of our 2017 TSC News WWE Awards. We'll crown most overrated wrestler, most underrated, and much, much more. Until then, have a safe and happy new year. And as always, enjoy the matches.